Radio. Rahim here with Eddie Hearn in Cardiff, Wales. It seems like I chase you all over the globe these days.
Yeah.
We've got Anthony Joshua and Carlos Takam, whom no one expected to be on the other side of this card just a few weeks ago. Anthony's had to deal with different changes along the way. Obviously, there's been some hiccups with the Klitschko fight, and now this fight comes in last minute. Do you feel like this is something basically that now he's accustomed to? It doesn't really change his approach to the fight?
This is the first time it's really happened, to be honest with you, in a fight. So, like you said, first of all it was Klitschko, then it was Pulev, now it's Takam. No other fight has ever fallen through for him in his preparation in his other 19 fights. So there's something new to deal with in that respect. AJ doesn't really care. He just loves to fight. You know, the trainer, Rob McCracken, a little bit different. You know, you've been training for 8 or 9 weeks for a guy who's 6'5", you know, awkward, rangy, and now you've got a 6'2" guy who comes in low, wings big shots, relentless pressure. It's a completely different style. So that's, you know, the challenge in this fight is Carlos Takam, but it's also, you know, the change in preparation and the disruption in preparation. But this is going to be a good fight. You know, I think this is going to be a better fight than the Pulev fight would have been. It's going to be an explosive fight. Anthony's got to use his brain rather than his heart. Unfortunately, he loves to fight. So I think you're going to see them engage and go to war for as long as it lasts.
Well, when I mentioned the hiccups, I meant like when Klitschko didn't happen on the date that we expected and all that, and you get up for a fight and then you got to, you know, start the training camp for the next date. And this fight, he said he's going to box in a phone booth. I don't know if the word got back to you, but it doesn't sound like he's looking for brains, he's looking for brawn.
That's the problem, because you don't fight like that against Carlos Takam. You know, you box him, you use your height, your range, but he doesn't. He loves to fight, and he's excited by the Takam fight because Takam's going to be right in front of him. You saw him on the pads. He's going to be relentless. He done like half an hour of pads. Do you know what I mean? He's just, this is, Takam's going to do exactly what it says on the tin. But AJ's just got to be smart. Don't take silly shots, don't trade, but listen, I can't tell him. He likes to entertain, he loves to excite, and that's why 78,000 people will be there on Saturday to watch him fight.
Now, we talked about getting up for the fight, and with all that said, he's a huge favorite. I think it's 33-1 on his side, 14-1 on the other side. Is it a concern of yours that he may take this fight a little lightly, saying things like fighting a phone booth, want to be entertaining, want to continue to, you know, knock people out in spectacular fashion, and not look at this guy as a real threat?
He knows he's a threat, and he knows Carlos Takam. And, you know, Anthony studies the division. Sometimes he doesn't tell you that he does, but trust me, he does. And he believes that he can trade with Takam and clean him out. And it will be exciting and fun, and people will love it. But, like, again, what I would like him to do, and maybe what even Rob McCracken would like to do, may not be what he decides to do on the night. But again, with Takam, it's all very well saying to box him at range. He's going to be in your face the whole fight, but he's got to walk into a steam train in Anthony Joshua, who's the hardest puncher in the division and the fastest puncher in the division. So, you know, I'm excited. It's one of those shows, one of those nights where I look forward to getting through and planning 2018. It's been, like I said, a lot of hiccups along the way. You know, deal with Takam, get the win, the 4th defence of his world title, the first mandatory defence, get it out of the way and move on.
How did Takam become the choice for this fight? I mean, once Pulev fell out, why is Takam the guy? And like you said, you want to prepare for 18, but we thought we might even see a pretty spectacular in the 17. There's some other options. How did this become?
No other options. When you fight an IBF mandatory, very straightforward, you have to fight the IBF mandatory and you go straight down the list to the next available contender.
No step aside as an option.
Listen, Carlos Takam would definitely not have been the choice. You know, we would have chose someone like Pulev or someone less aggressive, or maybe, you know, at last minute notice. The IBF phoned up and said, Pulev's out, next in line, Carlos Takam, speak to him. Went away, spoke to them. We'd already had the situation in place where we told Takam that if Pulev falls out, the IBF will go to you. So be ready, box on our show in Monaco next week, okay, so that you're not training for no reason. He's been training for 6 or 7 weeks, not necessarily for the Joshua fight, but knowing in his head that if something happened, that could come up.
That was curious to me because it seemed like you had an understudy for this fight. He was ready to go, deal ready to go. Did you suspect that Pulev might fall out for one reason or another?
Not necessarily suspect, but I do know that he's, you know, not a complicated guy, but, you know, he's very well known in Bulgaria, and, you know, you never know what these guys are going to do. But more importantly, when you've got 78,000 tickets sold, and you've got a huge Sky Sports box office event, Showtime boxing all around the world, you've got to take precautions. And we knew that if they were going to go and put the IBF, the next guy in, which is Takam, let's get him ready. And he's French, we was going to box him in Monaco, so everything worked out with his promoter as well. So he was ready to go. As soon as Pulev pulled out, I phoned up Chris Kirchie and Team Takam. They said, we're ready all day long, let's go. And it was done. So it was a seamless switch, which is good, because you can't have days that go past and there's no opponent, and it was an hour.
Yeah, so, right. I got one update, then I got the next one immediately.
So that's important, and we've done a good job. We've got a good fight, and the Anthony Joshua show rolls on.
You're not the only one looking forward to a big 18. There has been a lot of stir since our last interview, in fact. So in as much as Joshua studies the heavyweights, surely you study the promoters that you're competing with. You told me that shortly, after a little bit of work, you're going to take over the U.S. market. There was quite a bit of stir from the U.S. promoters. How did you find that their responses, and is it taking you off your game at all?
Obvious. Listen, when I came into the UK, I said exactly the same things, and I had the exact same resistance from the promoters. And very quickly, I broke that down, and we started to control the market in the UK. That's not me being arrogant. That's just what happened. Doesn't mean it's going to stay that way, but that's where we are at the moment. So when I go into America, I'm not naive enough to think, oh yeah, I'm just going to stroll in and sell out every arena in the US. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to plot efficiently. I'm going to learn, and then I'm going to take over America. That's just my belief. That's my mindset. Whether it's right or wrong, we'll see. But I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. If I do it, whether I do it or not, the proof will be in the pudding. I back myself to do it. I wouldn't back against me. But I might not. I might fail in America. But I'm just telling you how I see things going to be going. The other guys, when you look at our November the 11th show, we are working with Rock Nation, Golden Boy, Star Boxing, Joe DeGuardia, Salita Promotions, Greg Cohen, and sorry if I've missed out anyone else. So that's our first show. I am saying to people, I want to work with other promoters. Other promoters hate to work with other promoters. Not just in England, but in America. So these guys, Lou DiBella would do everything, and has tried to disrupt as well. So even since I've just, on my first show, would do anything to try not to work with me. Do you know what I mean? That stops fights happening. That stops the development of your business. That can stop opportunities coming to your fighters. That is not acting in the best interest of your fighters. And I'm not just talking about Lou DiBella, by the way. I'm talking about all kinds of different people.
Well, he has been one of the most vocal.
No, he's the one. He's the one. Lou DiBella doesn't like the fact that I've come in and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I don't want to be disrespectful to Lou DiBella. He's had a right pop at me. I'm really trying to go deep on certain things. Absolute rubbish. And all I've said is, Lou DiBella's not his own boss. He doesn't make his own decisions. He works for someone else. But Lou DiBella was a very powerful man, and Lou DiBella is a very smart man, and I like Lou DiBella. But what I say by fact, and he doesn't like it, And he said today, if Eddie Hearn wants to make a deal with Deontay Wilder, he knows who to call. And I just tweeted and said, what, Al Heyman? But I'm just teasing Lou DiBella because it's so easy to do. Do you know what I mean? But deep down, listen, I've known Lou DiBella probably since I was 12 years old. He used to be head of HBO. My dad used to deal with him back in the day. I wouldn't like me. I wouldn't. If I was a US promoter, I would think, look at this fucking horrible flash Brit coming over here. What does he think he's going to do? But that's just me. It's...
You've proven that the proof is in the pudding here in the UK for sure. Cornered the market as, I think, a light way to say it. You've essentially got a monopoly. What is it that you're doing right or you intend to do differently in the States that these promoters aren't doing properly? What makes your approach, the way that you come at this sport, able to change the power structure and dynamic in the States?
I think it's a fresh approach. It's understanding the market. It's a completely different outlook on social media. Again, it's going to take time. People say to me, what are you going to do in US shows that other promoters don't do? I don't know. I'm going to give you a great night out, and I'm going to give you glitz and glamour, and I'm going to give you a different dynamic and demographic to the audience. I'm going to give you some music. I'm going to give you great fights. It may not work, but I believe I can do it. I did it over here, and that's what we've essentially done over here. Bigger perception of events, more hype, more driving on social media to create an atmosphere and create an understanding of these fighters. Daniel Jacobs, no one really knows Daniel Jacobs. No one really knows the story. If you knew the story, look at Anthony Joshua. Everybody knows his story, don't they? Everybody knows where he's come from. Everyone knows about his struggle. Everyone knows about his fights. Everyone knows about his weaknesses, his strengths. But Daniel Jacobs, he should be on the same kind of level. I know he's not a heavyweight, but the story's incredible. He looks $1 million. He's such a great talker. He's an inspiration to children and to cancer patients and the disease that he overcame. But it's like you've got to, when you feel that way about someone, you create that atmosphere in the arena. You stand up and you scream and you shout for them. You don't sit down in your chair and say, "Yes, Danny, go Danny." They don't, do they? They don't sit there and go, "Yeah, go AJ." They're sitting out, you can hear them. "Hey Jay, hey." That's euphoria. That is understanding a story. That's hype. That's everything mixed in.
Last bit on this strategy here, because, for instance, the Danny Jacobs fight, you listed off maybe 5 promoters, 4 of which, with the exception being Golden Boy, are mid-level. Even Rock Nation is, I would have to say at this point, a struggling promotion trying to break through. Is it in your sphere to kind of gather up these mid-level promoters and whatnot, bring them under your umbrella, and maybe enter the market in this way?
I wouldn't sort of insult them and say bring them under my umbrella, because I haven't really proved anything in America yet. So I'm a mid-level promoter in America. Do you know what I mean? I'm a massive promoter in the UK, but I'm not as big as Top Rank. I'm not as big as Golden Boy in America. I have a good relationship with Top Rank. I have a good relationship with Golden Boy. The only US promoter I don't have a good relationship with is probably Lou DiBella, and I don't think I've got a bad relationship with him. It's just everything he said makes me feel like I haven't got.
I think you've got a good one.
Exact one. So, but I want to work with everybody. It doesn't matter if it's Top Rank, Golden Boy. I can't. I'm not naive enough to just say I'm going to come in this market and crush you all and dominate you. And I'm not. I'm going to have to work with people. I've got slots on HBO that I can't fill with all my fighters yet, because I have one American fighter, Danny Jacobs, and Jarrell Miller that I'm working with Dimitri and with Greg Cohen. So I need to work with these guys, and they've got opportunities. Some promoters don't have TV dates. They don't have TV slots for their fighters. I might be able to provide that for them.
This is okay. So that's kind of an end around to what I mean.
Exactly, but I'm actually looking to build allies rather than enemies. Sure. But unfortunately, because of the way I am and probably the way that I'm perceived, I will build enemies on the way. I did it in the UK. I'm very unpopular in the UK, but we've dominated. So business is a game, business is a sport, and the aim is to win, and we're winning. It's not a popularity contest. If it was, I wouldn't be at the top.
The Danny Jacobs fight, I'll be there. There'll be plenty of press there. He's a great story. It's in keeping with the story that you've discussed on how to break into that market. But there's not even arguable. There's no bigger bang, no bigger spotlight or boom that you could get out of one fight than Joshua Wilder, clearly. Now, I don't know if you're just winding them up over there or if you're quite serious about this, but you've been quoted as saying, like, Deontay's got to earn the Joshua fight.
No,
he'd have to fight White as a qualifier. No. These things are incorrect.
No, this is what they perceive my offer to be. This is how I see it. Wilder against Joshua could be the biggest fight in world boxing. It's very close already. It could be 5 times the size that it is now, right? And fans mustn't lose heart with that and say, "Oh, well, why don't we want it now?" Of course you want it now. You're a fan. But it's my job as well to build this into a huge fight. I'm not talking like 2 years. I'm talking maybe 9 months or something like that. Do you know what I mean? All I'm saying is that in February, I want Anthony Joshua to fight Dillian White. Sorry. I want Deontay Wilder to fight Dillian White for the WBC world title. I'm prepared to pay Deontay Wilder a lot of money to come and do it. If he beats Dillian White, he makes the Joshua fight 3 or 4 times the size that it is now. And he increases his share in that fight considerably. Okay? If he loses, he's got a rematch clause. right? But I'm trying to grow the fight. So it might be that Joshua, in February or March, goes to America to box, to grow the Wilder fight. Do you know what I mean? So we want that fight. Joshua's strategy and his orders to me are, I want the other belts. So we've got to fight these guys. No problem fighting them. I just want it. I want to make him as much money as possible. Do you know what I mean? That's my name of the game. Why make a fight in February or March that you could make in July or even November, December for double the money? You know? But that's the way I look at it. And I know what I'm doing. I know how to build fights. I know how to maximise the revenue from fights. But Wilder's desperate because he doesn't have the big fights out there aren't him. Like him against Parker is not a big fight. Do you know what I mean? Joshua's the cash cow in the division, and all these guys look at Joshua, and it's not a case of fight Dylan and I'll give you Joshua. No, fight Dylan for a lot of money, and a defence of your title to grow the Deontay Wilder brand and to make the Joshua fight huge. I think White beats Wilder, but Deontay doesn't. But if Deontay thinks it's an easy fight, he should come and take the money.
Is Luis Ortiz still in the conversation in any way?
Absolutely no idea. No idea. I mean, look, I like Ortiz's guys. Jay Jimenez, we work together. You never know in this situation what's happened, do you? But all you know is he's failed another drugs test. I believe he's banned for 6 months. So we're going to fight again in 4 months. So it won't be Luis Ortiz next. Whether he's the new mandatory after that, I don't know. We have no problem fighting Luis Ortiz. But, they were disappointed with me because I said he should be banned from boxing. From the outside looking in, it don't look good, And I had a good conversation with Jay Jimenez. He said, he done this, he done that. And listen, if he did, then he's unlucky. But he still should have wrote it down.
Do you buy the high blood pressure and all this?
Look, I don't want to talk badly about Ortiz and Jay Jimenez and all those guys because I had a relationship with them. We were good to each other. It didn't work out. But I said to Jay, look, Jay, I'm just telling you what it looks like. It don't look good, mate. But they're going to have to go through their process, fight it legally, whatever they've got to do. But we've got to concentrate on ourselves. And right now, we've got to concentrate on Anthony Joshua.
And lastly, you've got Danny Jacobs. Is there any other fighters, American fighters, that you're talking that look like the kind of fighters you'd want to bring under Matchroom?
Yes, there's lots. But until I have the dates, until I have the network out there and the infrastructure, I'm not just going to sign, like loads of promoters would go in now and sign, let's build a massive stable. But I don't have to do that. We'll start with Daniel Jacobs. In the next 12 months he will box, or the next 15 months he will box 4 times on HBO. That's a good start for me. I'm going to do 4 shows next year. And I got into trouble as well because I said, and the year after that we're going to do 8, and the year after that we're going to do 12. And everyone thinks I've got an HBO contract for 12. The truth is I don't have a contract with HBO. We have a contract, Matchroom and Daniel Jacobs, to promote Daniel Jacobs on HBO. I am not exclusive to a broadcaster. I saw Richard Shaver say, AJ signing with HBO. Absolute rubbish. AJ's a Showtime fighter at the moment. We've got this fight, another fight. They've been very good to us. They've invested in him. I'm not exclusive with a broadcaster. We'll see how it plays out. HBO have given me an opportunity. But they've given me an opportunity because I bought them Daniel Jacobs. Not because I bought them, some random guy who they're not interested in. If I bring them big names, will they give me more dates? I would bet my bottom dollar they would. Maybe they won't.
It seems like a pretty predictable obstacle to Wilder Joshua, the whole HBO fighter versus Showtime fighter. And if it goes the way you say, Joshua fights somebody else after this fight, Wilder does the same, you'll be out of the Showtime contract at that point. Is it just to the highest bidder, or?
No, again, look, we're not, AJ, the US TV is not the be-all and end-all for Anthony Joshua. He's making a lot of money elsewhere. But what I will say is Showtime have invested in Joshua. This is the 5th fight they've had with him. So it's not just a case of, we're a free agent now, who's the highest bidder? Showtime will always get first dibs, whilst from the moment they've invested in Joshua over the period. So we'll see where that deal goes. We may sign a new deal with them before our deal's up. But ultimately it's not just about who's paying the money. It's about who's going to grow the Anthony Joshua brand with us in America. You know, this is a big business, the Anthony Joshua business, and it's about different markets, and it's about being as big as possible in those markets and working with the right broadcasters. Showtime have backed him. You know, they're really driving his profile. At the moment, we're very happy.
Well, thank you so much for working with the right broadcaster tonight. Radio Rahim with Eddie Hearn. Always a pleasure, always patient. Thank you, sir.